Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to open another Hello Kitty Miniverse. And this one actually came from a friend that didn't really care for the project, so it's actually all unboxed already. But let's see what we get inside. Also, they did put like some other pieces in there that belong to some other things, so we're gonna ignore those. And I'm just going to show you guys what actually should have come in the sphere. So we got this adorable coaster, and then the seating area for the sphere is actually pink, while the other ones we had before were white. And then the table, I'm actually more a fan of this one. The other one had a different shape entirely. And this one, with the like scallop design with the pink base and the cute Hello Kitty design on top, I think it just looks more fun in my opinion. Of course, like a Hello Kitty table also makes sense, like in the shape, but I just like this design more personally. And then we have these like curtain things, sunshade things that you can plop in, and a bow that you can plop on top, and with that the like sphere is decorated. It does come with some feet that you can plop in on the sides just to make it more stable. I didn't do that, but yeah, we also have this cute wrapping paper, and again the coaster design is so adorable. So the actual project that we have here is a terrarium. So it comes with this base plate that has a notch in it and where the like clear the cover goes onto, and I just adore the shape. I'm glad that I didn't add eyes because I think that would obstruct the vision too much, but adding like the shape of the bow and the ears and just like the overhead shape of Hello Kitty as like the glass dome, so to speak, is super adorable and I really love it. But yeah, I'm not gonna make the project that is technically supposed to be in here. I'm gonna like spice it up a little bit, but it's still gonna be very simple. We got our gardening tools. So we got some pliers and then a trowel thingy with pink handle, which I really like that they actually, you know, kept with the pink design for this. And then we have this adorable Hello Kitty in his box, and I love the packaging designs. It's like when you get a toy in the supermarket, the only thing that would technically be missing is like the hanger on top. But else, this is so adorable. And then we get some like stones or rocks for, you know, the garden, which I'm actually not gonna use these. And these are this like glue rock mix that we've seen before in some of the other kits, like the aquarium kits had those. And the plants, and these are actually so cute. I love the gradients. So we got two little succulents, and I also love that they actually put two different ones in here and not two of the same, because this would just look visually way more cute. But yeah, I'm going to keep them on the side and for a different project, because I have different plans for this little display. But here's what they would look like inside, like size comparison-wise to the sphere. And I think they definitely are a very simple but cute project in general. And for the wrapping we also get one of these cute newspaper things. This time we have some different illustrations, but the text seems similar and stuff, but very, very cute. So let's actually get into the project. Sadly, I forgot to press record and I missed the first part how I mix this, but this is just a mixture of like glue, sand, water and brown paint. Nothing special. I just, you know, kind of thin it down and then put it in and stir it. You can see it cracks a bit, and that's just totally normal because it takes a while to dry. But I'm going to cover that up anyways. I just wanted to have a sandy base in case something peeks through. So I'm adding like some different rocks that I picked out of my decor pile and out of our garden. And then it's all gonna be covered in moss. Putting on some PVA glue and then just dipping it in the moss. This was hard to film, so I just cut out the blurry part of me dipping it. And then I also added some tiny foliage. So these are like tree and like bush bits that you can pick out. These are actually for like model train layouts and things like that, but they work really well in this tiny scale because they really look like, you know, bushes and trees that also fit into this diagram. And then I picked out some of these like colored dried plants that I have from when I bought like some sets for my resin projects. and I placed Hello Kitty on the front stone. I did have to like hide in here a little bit with some moss underneath because she was sitting a bit crooked because the rock wasn't perfectly smooth. But once I've done that and she actually sat a bit more like straight, it looked super cute. But that's not all. I'm actually going to make a wire tree, like a little wire tree that will sit on top. So this will be like a tiny triumph thing that will have like, you know, rock and like moss and like a beautiful little plant tree. And wire trees are actually very simple. You start off with like a bunch of wires. I'm using copper here since theirs is really soft and easy to like twist, and I found that for small trees this just works the best. And you like twist the middle and then you just separate out some of the wires to make branches and like the crown, and for the bottom part you just separate out the roots a little bit more. And you twist all of these into different sections, and for the branches you can actually split them even more when you twisted them. And that is how you make a very simple like wire tree. It's very sped up here, so it's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, it's just literally twisting everything in the same direction. And, you know, picking out which shape of the branches and things you want. I knew that with how the diorama was and where the tree would sit, or like the little, like, not diorama, but like glass thing, that I would have to have the branches face more towards one direction, in this case to the left. So that's what I did. And then I trimmed off the excess. And to make it easier to paint, I actually am using some nail polish here. And this is just filling in the grooves a bit more, holding the branches a bit more closely together, because I found that, especially with copper wires, since it's a bit more flexible, sometimes it can untwist and stuff while you paint it, and then the paint will crack and the brush will get stuck. So just sealing it with like matte nail polish actually works really well. You could also probably use glossy, but I don't know how well the paint will stick on that. So you may have to prime it first then. But yeah, I just added some brown paint and then a dry brushing of a bit of a lighter brown just to give it some shading. And then I have these leaves, these are miniature leaves, and I just dipped my tree in some glue and then in the leaves, and then I glued it onto the rock to the right hand side of Hello Kitty, always making sure that it fits under the little dome. And here we have the finished project. I know that it isn't much different from the original, but I really think I like this one more because the other one, while it looked very cute, it felt a bit empty underneath the dome. This one with the tree just hanging on top, like from the right hand side, and just like the greenery and the stones and the moss there, I think it looks a bit more full. And I think the succulent original project is definitely very cute, but I just prefer this kind of scenery a bit more, this like lush green moss. And yeah, I'm in love with it. Again, a very simple project, but sometimes you really don't need much to make something cute. But let me know in the comments down below, what would you have put under this dome? Would you have stuck to the original? Would you have done something similar to what I did, or something entirely different? I'm very curious. And as always, I hope you have a great day. See you next time. Bye bye!